Okay, call to order.
Beckwith,
Here.
Caldwell, absent. Farkapisi,
Here.
Ketman,
Here.
Kotsinis,
Here.
Linsdau,
Here.
Sutton, absent. We have a quorum.
Okay. Rich.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Warren-Newport Public Library District provides the community with access to information, kindles the imagination of children and adults, and supports lifelong learning. Keaton. Any public comment?
No correspondence.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow Trustee Sutton to join the meeting remotely. Could I have a second for that?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Everybody
Take charge.
I'd like to remind people, be careful of your paper rustling because it makes it really hard to hear.
Hello? Hi, Bonnie. Bonnie, it's Ryan Livergood. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can all hear you. You have been approved to join the board meeting, so welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
We're gonna, can you move that down more
Yes.
toward the middle?
George, can you?
So we're gonna move it to the middle, the mic, and if you can't hear, will you let us know, please, Bonnie?
Okay.
Okay,
I can hear you. Thank you.
all right, we just did the pledge and the mission statement, and we're headed to the consent agenda. Does anyone want to remove anything from the consent agenda? Minutes.
minutes.
I know, I'm sorry, we forgot. That was our fault. And I would like to remove policy 1053. And instead of doing it after the consent agenda, I would like to put it after new business D. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. All right, so could we have a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain, okay. All right, so now we need a motion on the minutes. To approve the minutes, please.
I move that the minutes I move the minutes approved.
Okay. I'll second. Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Abstain.
I
Okay.
abstain.
Thank you.
Okay, President's Report, page 39. Blah, blah. Questions, comments? Other people have a report?
I do.
Please.
Two items. One, I was pleased to attend a program put on by the Friends of the Library earlier this month on climate change. I found the speaker most compelling and the topic quite interesting. I thought it was well discussed and handled the questions asked him very well. Also attended with Director Livergood yesterday the President's Day Legislative Forum, and I think it went very well. It was nice to get a chance to hear opinions of everything happening in other library districts. And
It's fun to
General
meet
legislative
trustees
agenda.
from other libraries, I think. It's interesting. Anyone else? Other reports? Okay. Committee reports, 41 to 44. Comments, questions? Okay, you're up. Exec Director's report.
Oh, okay.
Page 45 for Ryan's report.
Yeah, just to add on to what George was referring to, the President's Day legislative event. You have an orange sheet in front of you, and that overviews basically the I guess, advocacy items at both the state level and then the federal level. So please take a look at that. And I think probably you're familiar with most of these.
The
If you have any
orange.
questions, let me know.
It's the orange.
Orange,
paper.
yeah.
Looking in the wrong file, maybe.
So, I mean, some of these things are not, we've been talking about the property tax freeze for a while, and some other minor ones. I think the property tax freeze was the big thing at the state level, of course, and then at the federal level, the funding for IMLS is under threat again, and then net neutrality, of course, is the other major issue. So, and there are others as well. Like there's a student loan forgiveness for public servants program that there's some discussion on eliminating that. There's also a bill to strengthen that program. So those are some of the things going on. Other thing.
The one Andrea would find near and dear to her heart is our cash basis accounting.
Right.
You guys want to know the difference between cash and accrual?
Sure.
Accrual, think occur. So you would record things you owe. Cash, you only record when the cash moves.
When it moves.
You spend it or it moves from one place to another?
So like this bill would be on the financial statements because it occurred, we owe it.
Oh, okay.
But on a cash basis, financial doesn't happen until the check gets cut.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
Thank you.
See, I'm making CPAs out of these.
That'll do the day.
No.
You're just doing job hunting for your firm, that's all you're doing.
I
Anything
get
else that you
$5,000
wanna
deposit.
say about your report?
I don't think so. Any questions about the report?
What can you tell us about Coco's Cove?
Yeah. When will we get a tour?
Oh, well, maybe we do that on the agenda for the committee of the whole. Because as it says in here, it's nearly complete. We have a kiosk that looks like a crayon. That's really, really cool. That it's going to replace what was there. We had these desks that had iPads attached. So the crayon kiosk is constructed. It's sitting in a back office. But we had an issue with the seats, actually. I think that's the sticking point right now. So that should be installed soon. So I think that's basically the big thing. So once that goes in, it will be complete. But, as it says in the report, there's the new benches for seating. It's cleared out. The book boards are kind of, board books, that are right in the middle. That bin has been cleared, so there's more space to move around. So people seem to really like it. I know that the Cacenas family was here the other day, minus George, and they were having a good time in there. So
I have not had a chance to see it myself yet, so
yeah, so
looking forward to it.
yeah, so yeah, maybe community of the whole we do a tour.
Okay. Anything else? Other questions?
Oh, there is something. I'm sorry. Inside angle. We had a couple of mistakes in the inside angle. The first one I'll point out, and I want to apologize to our new trustees because on the back, the trustees listed it would be the former board. So it lists Nancy and Bob and Sue. So apologies to Kathleen and Bonnie. So and then the other mistake, I will blame the beautiful artwork that was selected. Because you miss it in the upper right-hand corner, and there are at least a dozen set of eyes that review the inside angle many times before it goes to print. It says 2017, not 2018.
Whoops, jeez.
You got the wrong printer.
Maybe.
Because I can tell you, my brother would have copied.
Yeah. So anyway, so those are. I don't think those are. Obviously, apologies to our new trustees. We'll certainly correct it next time. Yeah, so that's what's that in the date. I think the public will know that this is 2018. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I know that that we feel bad, but I take responsibility, obviously, for the day. It's my responsibility to make sure those things get correct. So
Mistakes happen, no big
It's
deal.
not the end of the world.
Yeah.
No big deal.
I was pretty sure I was still a trustee, so I should.
this is a cruel way to tell me.
Okay, board self-evaluation. So I sent,
I have something.
Yeah.
On page 47,
mhm.
security issues.
Yeah.
Those two of them are very concerning to me. The second one under adult and the minor, the sexual harassment, vulgar abusive language, are those repeat offenders that now it's a year, or was this just that one-time deal and their behavior was so egregious it was a year?
Oh, yeah, without, looking
I
at.
know specifically.
Now that we're about a month away from it, it's hard for me to recall. Unfortunately, as you can see, you look at a lot of these reports. But I can get back to you on that at the next meeting. I apologize that I don't remember the specifics off the top of my head.
I have to say, it seems this table's getting bigger every.
It's
month.
concerning to
Yeah,
me.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. Unfortunately, it's not a good trend I will say that I think since Warren Graham, the Black Belt librarian, has been here, we have doubled our efforts to make sure that we are being firm with patrons. So if they do violate policy, there's not a lot of patience. I think before there were times where we were too patient with patrons, where they were doing some of these things, but we let it go a little bit too far. Where now that's not happening. We're very firm. So that may be why there's an uptick. But I think that, anecdotally, we talk about this all the time. It seems like more and more of these things are happening where we have these issues. I don't know if, Noreen, if you want to add to that, but that's just what we've been talking about.
Yeah, we used to have very few incident reports. I just said something to somebody today, I haven't seen one in 3 days. So, and that's a good thing.
Okay.
And this is something that you have to remember that our staff is dealing with all the time besides doing the regular stuff.
Okay.
Kathy, were you concerned because it was a year and it was a minor? Is that what your question was?
Well, it did concern me about that, but what I was asking was there, in each situation, was their behavior so egregious that it was a year right off the bat? Or is this a buildup and this is what we call in school a frequent offender?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If this is the event I'm thinking of, it just
Yeah.
all these things built up at once to make sure, we just felt that it was a year appropriate because
that's all I wanted to
of
know.
the behavior.
Right, I think that was the one that he wouldn't leave.
Right.
He wouldn't do anything, he wouldn't follow. Most of the time when you tell somebody, you're out of here, they go. Oh no, he was very aggressive about not going, and that's what he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to board self-evaluation. So, the first document in the packet is correct, our goals for last year. And then I sent out the other document. Did everybody get that? Does anyone not have it?
Yes.
I don't have it with me.
Okay, here, I have some. You have it?
Yeah, okay.
Dan, you have it?
Yeah, the new
Yes, I
one,
did.
the revised one, or the whatever, the second one you sent out. Yes.
Do you want one?
Yes,
I'll give you one. So, I also have this, if anyone's interested. This is all the scores. I hand wrote it, and then I thought if I was gonna give it to you, I would better type it, but if you want to see this, I can give you this. Does anyone, I didn't think
trust
you
you.
would, okay, fine. So, I could slice it and dice it about a million different ways, and so I'm thinking what I might do is tell you what the choices are, serve you up the menu of choices of how we could discuss, and then you can tell me where you want to go with it. Does that sound good? Okay, so let's just start with how we did on last year's goals, because that we know we have to do. So how do you think we did on last year's goals, and what do you want to say about that? As a board, we committed to do board development, and we committed to organize our board knowledge. There was one question about whether we finished that board knowledge goal, so we should probably answer that. But those are the two goals. The individual goals, I think, are pretty well done.
Yeah, I think, except for my part, everything is done.
I think you and I were gonna work on that treasurer binder.
No, it's my fault. You can't take responsibility.
No, I
for
think
it.
I was supposed to help you.
No, you decided I would do it by myself,
Okay.
so sorry, you can't take it.
Okay,
It's my
so
fault.
treasurer binder still has to be done, all right. What else?
But I've decided to add our process for selecting a new auditor to it, because I think it went really
Oh,
well.
that's a great idea.
So we'll
Yeah,
do.
that's a good idea.
Okay, so we have a brand new year, and don't do it during tax season.
Oh, no, that's not happening.
We know, okay.
You just have to keep people from dying.
Okay, I'll work on that.
An extra thing a trustee has to do.
That's right. I'll put that on my pink sheet.
That'll make, lighten my load for a while.
Okay, what else do you want to say about how we did on board development?
I
and-
think, except for me, I think we did really great. Our new board members are fully functioning, contributing, outspoken, which we want you to be, and they learned a lot, and, we learned along with them, and
Are there any tweaks you would like to make to our board development efforts? There was one comment in there about, what was that? General learning opportunities for board development. I'm not sure exactly what that means. But is there any tweaks that anyone would like to make to our board development efforts?
I'd like to ask what people liked the most out of what we did the last year.
In terms of what?
Of the board
What we're
development.
doing right.
Oh, well, from my point of view, the board development, without that packet from Joe, that's comment, with my name in it, would not be here. So that was huge for me.
So the board knowledge packets you really liked, or binders?
And Bonnie, I think you mentioned that too, that the secretary board knowledge binder has been helpful too, right?
Oh, it's been, I could not have done it without that. I
Yeah.
refer to that all the time, yes.
Okay, and then how about the committee of the whole, the videos that we've been watching, everybody still
Especially
good
like
with
the
that?
short
Yeah.
takes, yeah.
Okay,
Because they're short enough to be manageable and they do provide a lot of good information.
Okay.
I agree.
I know what to do if a shooter comes near me
No.
anywhere.
So,
One fell through.
would you like to give us a little critique on this, or do you have constructive criticism?
In general or specific?
Either.
Well, a couple of things, I wanted to maybe ask some questions or comments. No, I'm pleased with the board and how well you function, and I don't have any issues. I just wanted to see if there are a couple areas that were discussed that I can help address.
Let's wait till we get there.
You might wait till we get
Yeah,
there?
let's
Okay.
wait till we get there.
Okay.
Okay, so, just to recap our survey results, our scores, if you notice, were a little lower than last year. Last year, we had them all in the 90s. 5 were over 95%, and our overall score was 96. And this year, we gave ourselves 5 of the 6 areas were in the 90s. 1 was 89, and our overall score was 94%. We thought that our strengths were board effectiveness, 99%, meetings, 94%, financial management, 100%, Andrea. Policy work, which is interesting, policy work was our lowest percentage score, but the comments all said, we know we don't know it all, but we are doing a good job of that. So I would say we said it was our strength from the comments, though not as much from the number. And our board culture, we had that last year too, respect, cooperation, agreeing to disagree, communicating with Ryan, those kinds of things. And also the adjustment of our new trustees on both sides. One side being our mentoring and development, and the other side being all of your participation and effort to be good trustees. So those were our strengths, I think. Anyone else notice any others? Okay. So the next thing I did was I looked at, you can tell me if you want to talk about this or not. I went and looked at what were the questions that got low scores. So that was anything below a 24. Everything else was above that, and there were half a dozen that got really low scores. And if you want to discuss those, we can, and if you want to skip over that, we can do that. What do you want to do?
I'd like to know what they were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would too.
Okay, so there were 3 under board responsibilities. Does everybody have a survey to look at? If you don't, I can just tell you what they are.
Okay.
The
so-
first one is this: board activities are confined to governing rather than managing. We gave ourselves 20 out of 28 points for that. I'm not sure why.
I'm not either, yeah.
I will say one person skipped this question, so it resulted in a 0, and I don't know if that was intentional or if just the person skipped it or meant to come back to it or something. That was a
Yeah.
factor why it was so
Might
low.
happen, yeah.
I think, for myself, I think that, first of all, if we started to manage instead of govern, Ryan would let us know right away. But more importantly, I think we let ourselves know when we're getting off track on that.
Yeah, we've caught each other.
I know, that's what I think too. So I guess nothing to fix here, it's just an odd score. Okay, press on. Next one, same thing under responsibilities. Board members are familiar with the history and the role of the Friends. We had 22 of 28 on that. Thoughts?
Just think that we are so busy getting ready with the new board and all of the things, and we've kind of, the Friends not been as involved or things like that, just because turnover in boards, and it's enough to just get up and running with what we've got to do before we start learning about the Friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe it's time to revisit that and have them come in. I'm sure that they would like us to, just make sure we're all cooperating. And I don't think there's anything broken, but I just
No, I
think
don't either. Was it last year or the year before that I was supposed to meet with, had to be the year before, because I was supposed to meet with Diana, remember, and ask her if the Friends wanted anything to change about the board-Friends relationship, and she told me they didn't. They thought they were fine with
I couldn't even tell
it.
you who is the president of the Friends.
It's Christy again.
Christy again.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might not be a bad idea to have them come to a meeting sometime to just present just a little blurb about exactly what all they do and how many volunteers they typically have. I'd be curious to know some of that.
Yeah, but they'd
Does
like to do
everyone?
that.
I think that would be a great board
We can ask them,
development.
yeah. I think that one of the challenges we have is that the schedules are different. I mean, the Friends meet during the day, the
Yeah,
board meets in the
right,
evening. It's
yeah.
just that, and that works well for the Friends, doesn't work so well for the
Correct.
board,
Or
vice
can we
versa.
do something like in between, for those of us who work, maybe make it a little earlier in the day and have a little coffee or something? I'll bring my coffee pot.
Right, we'll work on that. Maybe
Something.
it'll turn out to be one of our goals, and we can figure out how we're gonna get that done.
At the minimum, I'd say stop by one of the Saturday book sales and say hi to people.
I've done that.
Yeah.
That's dangerous for me.
It's dangerous for all of us. It's dangerous for all of us, yeah, exactly.
Okay, the next one that got a low score, board members participate in fundraising activities, 20 of 28. Thoughts on this one?
I can only speak for myself, but I haven't been to as many outside of board meeting events as I should be. So, yes, I agree with
And
that.
I'm right with you.
I mean, there also were comments, I have to say, many of us have jobs or part-time jobs and families and other responsibilities, and it's not that we don't support the library, but that, our volunteer time is limited.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't necessarily think there's anything to fix there. This is just me speaking. I just think it's something for us to everyone to keep in mind, to do your best and hopefully,
Joe, one of the comments I thought about, and this may have relevance or not, is that I remember being a teacher in District 56, how important it was as a teacher to see board members at school sometimes or at music events and that sort of thing, just to show their interest and knowledge of what's going on. And that's kind of my feeling about why I feel like I should be at some of the events that are sponsored by either Friends or just the library, just to get to know people and to know how things work there. In my mind, I feel like that's a responsibility I have. I may not be at all of things, but I certainly want to put myself out as much as I can to see what's going on. So.
Right.
I know in my first few years on the board, I made an effort to try all the different things the library was doing. I went to a few programs. I chased down the bookmobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I probably should renew my efforts in that area. Because, I think as board members, we do need to be familiar with the different uses of the library.
Okay.
Well, and I feel bad, like, if, like, for fundraisers, I mean, like, that's kind of like, shouldn't we be doing more of that? I mean, I don't know.
Should
Yeah.
we, talk about in advance?
It's interesting, I thought,
Fundraisers
And then I got all upset because bingo in the books, I'm not gonna be here.
I know, me too, same thing.
I'm gonna be there.
I'll be there.
I
But
have to
maybe
s-
we can talk about what events are coming up and how we as a board can staff those events, so that at least
Right.
we have one or
Good
two
idea.
board members at every single event.
Yeah,
It's a good idea.
But what Ann is saying, I think, I noticed this too, is that to me, last year when we talked about fundraising, it was all about attending events. But this time, there were a couple comments about what you're saying. There was one that said, may need to do more with fundraising. And then there was another one that said, helping with fundraising ideas and performance with the committee. So to me, those are two separate things.
Yeah.
What would our involvement be with WDC? And we don't know what that is yet. But to me, that's a separate thing on fundraising, how much we're involved with them versus if we attend things. Those are two different things, yeah.
Is there something that we could do, to support that's not necessarily, not that we shouldn't be there, we should be there, but do a board basket for bingo in the books?
yes.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah.
That would be good. Okay. All right, next question that got a low score. Board members understand bylaws and current policies, and that was sort of the same as the, that we, as a whole, we're doing really well at that. It's just that no one person is an expert. Does anyone else concerned about this low? Me either.
We have so many policies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Keep
don't
working
think that you could.
I don't think you could either. And in fact, here's an example, when we passed the, shorten the term length, that night as we were leaving, it was George said, we'll have to do the bylaws now. And Brian and I went, oh, yeah. So that's why, there's,
Yeah.
If it helps, what I did when I was first coming on, and this is probably a little on the extreme side, I actually digitized took digital copies of all of our policies. And I would just run searches against them as we were coming up with things.
What do you mean?
Well, beautiful,
Just for
beautiful thing about
overlaps or-
technology.
Yeah.
If-
so he merged them all into one ginormous document that was searchable. So if it was term length, he could put in term length and see if that was treated in any other policy besides
So
bylaws.
that's a document
Oh.
that you have.
It's a document that I was maintaining continuously while I was the policy chair, but that's a lot of effort for someone.
Yes.
No, you can do it. We have PDFs of all of these policies,
You have
right?
PDFs, but to search across all of them, you have to then take them and combine them,
You just do,
which, yeah, you can sort of.
Acrobat
It
combined
takes a while.
files.
And then
Yeah.
it's a
The
lot of
problem was
upkeep.
The problem I had was the upkeep of the.
Yeah, it's the upkeep.
Yeah.
Okay, so no concerns about that. And then the next one, I thought this one was odd. Board members arrive on time for meetings 23 of 28. I don't see tardiness as a problem.
I was surprised by that one,
I was too.
because it seems like we are always on time.
Yeah, I think we are too. Okay.
Some of us will come in, I'm one of them, a couple minutes late sometimes.
Oh.
And
A couple minutes later is nothing.
That's
Yeah.
not, yeah, okay.
Not missing anything.
No, and the last one with a low score, this was our lowest score. Board members are members of local, state, or national associations, 16 of 28. We're just not.
Well,
Yeah, we're not.
But I have a comment on that. That was done intentionally because when we discussed the past budget, I brought up the fact that we're paying for all these ILA memberships. Are you getting value out of it? And the consensus was
Right.
that you weren't. You can get a copy of the ILA reporter. Essentially, that's what you get from being a member of ILA, and some other things that you can get discounts on as well, like going to the ILA conference. So if the board felt that, okay, I really missed that membership, that's something we could talk about putting back in the budget if you want.
I'm fine with it because Jo is a librarian. She keeps up with all of these things. I really appreciate all of our different talents on the board, teacher, human resources person, tech person. Tom, what's your specialty? building and grounds.
I have
But, I mean, we've all got different
He's our Renaissance
specialties,
man.
and I rely on Joe really to keep us informed of what's going on at the national level, and you do a great
But
job
if we're
with it.
looking ahead, now I realize that Joe will be president into perpetuity, but
Absolutely.
just in case, if we're looking ahead, we do need
Mhm.
something in
So-
place.
So when I came on the board, everybody was an ILA and the library paid, and the library also paid for the president to be an ALA. But to me, I'm gonna be in it anyway, so I don't have the library pay. But what I would think you might wanna do is that one board member could be in ALA and one board member could be in ILA.
Oh,
And
that's a good
that
idea.
would be a way to, cause then the ALA person gets American Libraries and their different publications, and I bring them in to share, and someone else could do it too. Okay, all right. So, areas where we could be more effective. Oh wait, a few other things. There were some comments, I think, a few things that we should discuss, a few things that need clarification, and a couple that need decisions, and I think there might be some goals in here. So the first ones are under, they were under planning, and they were these two comments. The first one said, not certain about reviewing the strat plan on a regular basis since I haven't been on the board long enough to know. So just to clarify, Ryan puts this in the packet quarterly in, I had to write this down, March, June, September, December. We used to ask him to do it monthly, but we thought that was overkill, so we reduced it to quarterly. And so that was just in the packet in December.
So it's March. It's
right.
coming up.
This is the strat plan. Does everyone, is this on the extranet?
Should be,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. On the extranet, and probably new people got this as a orientation document, okay.
Yeah, well, and we'll be looking at that, so that's 2016, so 3 years. So
Yeah.
that'll be next
Yeah.
next fiscal
You
year.
want to add anything on that?
No, that's perfect. I think that's
Next one was, we review our long-term plan frequently, but do not always distinguish between 3 to 5 year activities. So this is my fault, because whoever wrote this comment, this is a faulty question. It was an all-purpose question that we got from United for Libraries, and the fact is, as Ryan just said, we have a 3-year strat plan. And so I need to fix that question so it doesn't say 3 to 5 years, because we don't have any 5-year activities. So whoever caught that, that was pretty good. I'll fix that. Under how we could be more effective, I think a couple things need clarification. There were these two comments. Perhaps being more visible and available to staff would be an area that we could think about improving. And then there's another one. Explore more opportunities to involve school-age children in library activities during June, July, and August to avoid summer slump. So, you want to do this one?
I think I just wanted to, I don't know if you're going where you're going with this, Joe. This perhaps be more visible and available to our staff would be an area we could think about improving. I guess I wanted a clarification on that.
Yeah.
Because the comment was made earlier, it would be good if staff would see us at more programs and events, and I do
Right.
think that's a good thing. But I think there's a line that can be crossed if like if staff have issues or difficulties, they should talk to their supervisors, talk to administration. It's not the board's role to take on if someone comes to you like, I've got a problem with my manager at work, can you help me, Andrea? Andrea should say,
Right.
well, you need to talk to your supervisor, talk to Ryan about that. That's not my role. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands their role, what the role of the trustee versus my role, and obviously, yes, use the library, be visible and available to staff, but I think there could be some challenges there if it's been.
So if visible and available means what Bonnie said, that we could come to programs, or what Andrea said, ways that she learned about the library, that's what we should do. But if being available means that somebody wants to come to you about their supervisor, then that's where we slide off of governing and into managing, and that's not where we're supposed to go. That was my concern about these two comments, just to throw that out there as a piece of education. Do you want to say something? Okay.
I don't do it often enough, but when I'm around the library and I see a face here working that I haven't
Yeah,
met before, I usually try to introduce myself and, welcome them to, usually there's another employee there. And, tell them who I am and welcome to the library,
right.
but that's it, nothing,
right.
you know.
Any other comments about these? Okay. Next one, reworking the executive director's performance evaluation to better coincide with his actual job description and duties. So just to clarify, we did this after the 2016 review and after the 2017 review. In 2016, Sue Nemi and I made the job description and the survey completely match. And then, as you might recall, this last time, we realized that we didn't address goals at all. So Ann and I met after that evaluation, and we reduced some of the questions from the job description that were kind of trivial, like the executive director comes to every meeting. We took that one out, and we made some room for our goal questions and reduced the number of questions overall. So that one's already done, that comment. And then a couple that I saw that I thought maybe the board might want to talk about. One is that we could use a decision, and this one is the first one. The board is sometimes too efficient in meetings and may not always explain our decision-making process to the public in main board meetings. Is this something we want to do?
So I'll speak to this a little. We've moved so much of our work into committee of the whole that when we come to the board meeting itself, it's a lot more pro forma. We already know what we're thinking, what each other is thinking. There's not a lot of discussion that's as visible. That's neither good nor bad. It just would be nice to have the option, basically to speak a little more during the board meetings so that we've explained why we're voting the way we're voting.
Are you checking if people are here?
Well, people are always in theory
Oh,
here.
that's true, okay. Oh, those people, okay. Okay,
I mean, I don't think that's a bad idea, and I was the one who put down the comment about the so moved. I love the so moved.
Thank you.
But I've also realized that, and I don't like the filming, but when we discuss something and then we so move, if you were watching the video, you wouldn't know what we were voting on. So, as much as I like saying so moved because it's easier, I think we should at least say the motion out loud so
Okay.
that it gets on the.
okay, that's a good point.
What
Because
do other people agree?
I don't think what George says that there's any issue with that whatsoever. I mean, it would take a few extra minutes, and I think that's it. It's a good point where the people, we don't film the committee of the whole. It would just give the audience a better idea of what we're talking
Okay,
about.
so just hypothetically then, if we come to a motion and I say, could I please have a motion to approve whatever it is, and then we get the motion and then I say discussion, is that where you think people are gonna say why they're voting a certain way?
That's when that typically would happen, yeah.
Okay.
could we?
It seems artificial to me.
Is it possible, at least during committee of the whole, because, if we're all unanimous, someone could talk about why in general we were liking it, but if, very often we have 2 points of view, and we can, instead of everybody going around and being here all night or rehashing the whole thing, as we used to do in days past, maybe we could have one person from the yay and one person from the nay group summarize the issues, or I don't know which
I
is.
don't know that is necessary.
I don't know if that's necessary.
necessary.
It's in the right vein. It's just a lot of times, since we already know a lot of what we're going to say and what everybody else is going to say, we feel that we don't need to say it again. And while I don't think we should be rehashing issues, we should at least summarize what we're thinking, especially when there are multiple points of view.
So how should we summarize that?
It's discussion time. It's the only time I can think to do it, because that is the appropriate time to discuss the issue.
This is how I look at this, which is, I guess, the opposite of everyone else. The reason why we went to committee of the whole was that we that would be a place that we would discuss and come to consensus. And that part of the net result of that would be that our regular meetings would be more efficient. And
I agree, we're sort of making them less what we wanted them to be.
And in my opinion, the official record of what happens at a regular meeting isn't the recording, it's our minutes. And the minutes document the motion and what we're trying to do. I don't know.
I could go that way too.
So was the result that we follow the minutes, what's your point? I'm sorry, where you were going with that?
Well, the point is, I don't see why we need to put in all this extra rhetoric if the official record of our meeting is the written minutes, and why we need to rehash what we've already done. We have committee of the whole for that express purpose.
I agree with you.
Is to
And that
come.
makes the so moved point perfectly okay, because the full motion is in the minutes.
You know, think about that night the Boy Scout troop came. And that was a wonderful thing, I think, because we knew that was an educational opportunity. But that added
Another half hour.
20,
to an
yeah,
hour,
20 or 30 minutes to that meeting.
I'm not necessarily in favor of beating a dead horse, for lack of another term.
Yeah.
Because I agree, that's what the committee of the whole is, bringing stuff up, discussing it,
Yeah.
things like
Okay,
that.
so let's see the straw poll. Who wants to explain our decision-making process during regular meetings?
I don't know if any of us want to.
My hand is not up. My hand is not up.
Ryan has a
I'm
comment.
telling you, it's done.
And I'll just say very quickly, my comment is not that we are already at the point where we are making this too pro forma. I just want us to be cognizant of not doing so.
Okay. I mean, one small change I could make is that instead of saying, could I have a motion on this, I could say, could I please have a motion to approve that if that's what I think it's going to be? So
Right.
that would be a simple change that
And then
wouldn't take.
so moved would be
Then
in
so moved would
response
make
to that.
sense.
Correct, I like it.
What was your
I
comment?
was just going to argue that I think for issues that are close votes that aren't clear cut, like the patron history opt-in
The
vote.
opt-in, yeah.
You know, during that discussion, if you think back, board members took turns going around the room and expressed
Yeah.
their thinking behind their decision. So I think it's already done for those issues it needs to be where it needs to be done.
Okay.
Like I don't think.
All right, so we're going to make the simple change to facilitate so moved, and we're not going to pursue the long explanations. All right.
Although
Chris.
I do think, you know, and this now is a perfect time to discuss it because there's no motions or emotions on the table. But if someone feels that they need to point their, you know, if it's going to be a close vote and they want to reiterate their comments to maybe persuade
Sure.
other board members, I think they should.
People
they should
have
not
done that.
hesitate to do that.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right, goals. Things that I saw in there for potential goals. One was to finish the board development. We said that already. There were two people who commented about the mission statement.
About the what, Joe? I'm sorry.
Reviewing the mission statement.
Oh, yes.
I was one of them.
I like our mission statement.
Which we may like I think we could choose not to do anything about it. But I think we should review it, number one, so we're all familiar with it and parse it out. And number two, to decide if we do or do not want to update it. I just think it's something we could do this year. Not that we have to change it, but we should choose, it's been a long time since we looked at it.
Okay, who wants this as a goal?
I
guess we know who the two
Excuse me,
commenters were.
I'm sorry, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
Oh, remember at the beginning of
Can
our
I make a
discussion?
suggestion as far as the goal portion of this?
That's what she was talking about.
Because we need to refamiliarize, since we have so many new board members, refamiliarize the board with our mission statement. So maybe a session to explain its meaning, and then to decide if we want to make a change afterwards.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, since we will next fiscal year be coming towards the end of our strategic plan, it might make sense just to make that part of the strategic planning process. So that way it doesn't have to be a formal goal, but just
It
to,
was the last time.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
it's pretty common to, every time you do a strategic plan, to
Yeah.
review your mission statement and decide whether you're
Are you
happy
good
with
with
it or
that?
not.
Yeah, I'm good with whatever we wanna do, but,
Okay.
see, we've been on the board all these years and it hasn't changed and we've never discussed it.
No,
so-
we did discuss
We
it.
did?
Yes,
We
we
have discussed
did.
it, yes,
Mhm.
at length.
Well,
And-
not
and
at
it-
length,
well,
but it was during the strat
yeah.
planning process, and there was no impetus, there were only a couple of people who wanted to look at it.
But even though I've heard it how many times, I could not repeat it to you.
The Warren Newport Public Library.
You're reading it, you're reading it.
I am absolutely reading it. I read everything.
Okay, we'll
We're
leave that-
readers here.
You
we'll
don't
leave
know
that-
it by memory.
Cool it. We'll leave this for the strat plan. Okay, fundraising, are we gonna do anything? What do you wanna do about fundraising?
I would be happy to contribute toward a board basket and do some of the work toward getting it together,
Okay,
as long as it's simple and not overly complicated. If we could pick a
Everybody good with
theme
that?
or something.
I'll help with it.
okay, cool. Anything else on this?
Well, it's next month, so do we
I know.
wanna pick a theme or something?
Well, let's wait on that, okay?
Oh, we're just deciding
Yeah,
what we
we're just
wanna do.
deciding on our goals. And then we've said we wanted to learn more about the Friends, right?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Is
We'd
everyone
like
on
to
the board a
invite them
member of
to
the
a
Friends?
meeting or something.
Man.
That was actually the one thing that Diana said when I met with her, if you recall. She said they would like it if everybody on the board would be a member of the Friends.
2017, I became a lifetime member of the
Woohoo.
Friends.
Yay.
Okay, that is your own private business, though. We don't need to take a poll.
I'm a member too, but
I am too.
I don't know that I like
Okay,
that.
does anyone else have any suggestions for any other goals? Okay, so treasurer's binder, board basket, learn more about the Friends.
Those are pretty easy goals this year.
I could
Well, I wanna say.
like that idea.
I want to say continue doing a great job. It's been my honor to serve with you guys, and I truly mean that. I look forward to board meetings, and it is my honor to be, it is now my honor to be on this board and serve with people who may disagree with me but are not disagreeable.
Do you have a suggestion for another goal, George?
No, I'm just commenting. We seem to be light on goals today.
Well,
Because we're doing a good job.
once again, I'll reiterate, starting late 2018, it'll be strategic plan time again, so that will kind of take the place of another goal to add, George, so.
I mean,
Okay,
we
so
could
what are
list-
your highlights that you want to
Oh, we
talk
already
to us about?
touched on them.
Oh, we did,
I
okay.
don't know that I got into the explore opportunities to involve school-age children in library activities during June, July, and August to avoid summer slump. I think that's more something that's on my plate than the board's plate. Although I'm obviously welcome to suggestions because I think it's a good idea. I think it's
Yeah.
we're meeting on the summer reading program already and starting to talk about that. So that's it's certainly an important initiative. I mean, summer reading is really at the core one of the most important things that we do as a library. So
I think it's a wonderful idea. It's just not our job.
I mean, it sounds like we're light on goals, but we're doing so many things well that we're not even putting it on our radar as goals, like getting our budget done on time and doing, these things have become a natural part of the culture of this board. And that's why they're not goals anymore,
And
because
also,
we're doing them.
the two we had last year were formidable, I thought. We
They
could have
were.
had one or
That was a
the,
lot last year.
we could have had one or the other, and it would have been still plenty of work, so I wouldn't feel bad by having a little bit
We have enough to do.
smaller to-do list.
Especially if we're starting the strat plan again this year.
Yeah.
That's going to take a chunk of time.
Okay, I will write this up for committee of the whole, and maybe after the close of the meeting, we can figure out about the logistics of the basket. Is that okay?
Okay, fine.
Okay. All right, so new business. So the next one is policy 3020. Did everyone see the memo on the changes? You want to say anything, Noreen, about it?
I just want to tell George that I hope you noticed that when we rearranged the board, it made more sense.
I thought of
to
that too,
three
because
days,
you
7
wanted
days,
it.
14, but we couldn't move the 21 because it says all other print and materials, so we had
Yes.
to put that at the end. And it makes sense, and we're really happy that Gina pointed some of this out. It may be a little bit more pages, but it looks much better,
Yeah.
so. And then, I think that's Like I said, we just made the changes about the nonfiction,
Okay,
so.
so, may I have a motion to approve policy 3020, circulation?
I move we approve policy 3020, circulation.
What'd you
You're
say?
supposed to say so moved.
Second.
A discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Okay, 3023. Do you want to say anything about that one?
The only change was we caught that we hadn't put the thing about the umbrella, no fine on there. That's the only thing that came up with the committee room.
It's on page
Not page, I'm sorry.
71.
71. Under the
Sorry.
fine, section 101, we had forgotten because umbrellas are kind of new to put that in.
Okay, so can I have a motion for the approval of policy 3020, fines and fees?
So moved.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, so this one I think we should really read the motion, but the next one is for the engagement of a new auditor. Would anyone like to make a motion on this one?
I would. I move that the board accept the proposal of Etter, Casella and Company for audit services for a 3-year engagement to audit the financial statements of the Warren Newport Public Library for each of the years ending, fiscal years ending 2019, 2020, 2018, 2019, and 2020.
You got that?
2018, 2020,
2019 and
For each of the
2020.
years
Ending.
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 2018, fiscal years ending 2018, 2019, and 2020.
Each of the fiscal years. Okay. And who seconded? I'm sorry.
I did, yeah.
Ann. Discussion?
Just a comment that the treasurer and her committee did an excellent job reviewing all of these very complicated proposals.
Thank you.
Thank you, we had a great staff. They were afraid, but they did it.
Let's have a roll call for this one. Bonnie, we're gonna have a roll call for this one, okay?
Okay.
Here it comes.
Ketman,
Yeah, aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Kotsinis,
Aye.
Caldwell,
Aye.
Linsdau,
Aye.
Sutton,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
ayes have it.
So, Ryan, I believe there was an engagement letter
Correct.
in there. So if you wanna either get that out this evening or sometime very soon, I can drop by and sign it. And we also have to notify the other 3 firms
Right.
who also submitted proposals, and will your staff be able to
Oh, yeah,
take care of
that's
that?
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
let's see if I can track that down here.
anything else? Right, next is the editing of the recording for the January 16th regular meeting. I think we should read this motion, actually. So can someone make this motion?
I move that due to the mention of personal information about a trustee during the announcements at the close of the meeting, the January 2016, the information be edited out of the recording of the January 2018 meeting. Too many numbers.
Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I think it's appropriate that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for transparency, but sometimes we're accidentally too transparent.
yes.
And this was one of those cases where personal information that had nothing to do with board activity bled into our conversation and ought to have been removed.
And may put that trustee's personal stuff in danger, so.
So Ryan and I had a conversation about that we should that one option would be to put this possibility into policy 1053, and what do people think of that?
I think that's very appropriate.
I like,
I
yeah, I
do-
like the
do
idea.
too.
Okay,
I do too.
all right, any further discussion?
Just a comment. when we first put in video recording, it was under a very different board, where having all of our discussions available to everyone was more entertaining to our audience than it should have been. And fortunately, we have come to a point where we are all very friendly with one another, cordial to one another. Sometimes that winds up being less formal than we ought to be, and we need a mechanism to allow for editing when we sometimes get too personal.
Maybe we'll bring this up when we have that policy, but we also have to guard against people using it for unintended purposes.
I understand that, yeah. All right, let's have a roll call for this, please.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Ketman,
Aye.
Kotsinis,
Aye.
Caldwell,
Aye.
Linsdau,
Aye.
Sutton,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Abstain.
abstain.
Thank you.
Ayes have it.
Okay, video.
Oh, no, you,
Oh, yeah,
you
the
moved
policy
1053
1053, okay.
To here, yeah.
So,
It's on your places on,
there's a yellow version. I hoped that you all would say that it would be great to put this concept in. So this is a different draft from what's in the packet that I wrote the other day.
How is it different?
It includes the concept we just said, to put this possibility that we could edit a tape under certain circumstances.
I see.
And I added it to Article 2.
Okay.
And that first sentence there in the addition there, that was the last sentence in Article 1, and I thought it would be better with this editing part, so I moved it down there. It was there to begin with, but I just put it in a different place. And I changed the title of that article. And I thought, besides safety, that another thing might be that something could be said here that could expose us to liability for some legal thing or something. So I added that in. I went on the internet and looked for other policies like this and found other places who had exceptions and used their descriptions as a model. Thoughts?
I think this is good.
Looks good to me.
I move that we adopt policy 1053, recording board meetings as presented.
I second. Further discussion? Let's have a roll call for this.
Caldwell,
Aye.
Linsdau,
Aye.
Sutton,
I'm going to abstain because I don't have the addendum, the edited
No, so-
one in front of me.
Ketman?
Sorry, Bonnie.
That's okay, no problem. I just don't feel like it's legitimate.
I'll bring it to you
Something I
after
didn't
the
read,
meeting.
so.
Kotsinis,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
ayes have it.
Okay, I will fix the final as this and send to
Thank you.
Okay, now the video.
It's a little bit different than the.
Yeah, this is not a short
takes,
takes,
but
it's a
pretty
TED
good.
Talk.
It's-
We've wanted to do this for months, and every year,
I love
every
TED
month we
Talks.
decide something else is more important, so.
How long is this one?
13 minutes.
I can give you 13 minutes.
Okay.
In 2014, Americans got more books from one place than anywhere else. Can you guess where that is? I'm going to tell you a secret. It's not Amazon. More than 2 billion books were put into the hands of the reading public by a library. Libraries outperforming Amazon, that's not the image that most of us have of libraries today. Many of us still think of libraries as being a quaint, middle-class institution that in an age of technology has passed its due date. The idea that libraries could actually be on the rise is curiously counterintuitive. Technology has changed forever the way that we find information and the way that libraries provide it. The media often loves to portray libraries as being in their final throes. And libraries themselves find their budgets squeezed tighter and tighter every year against a wave of rising costs. And yet, libraries find themselves busier than ever. Why is that? Why is it that 50 million people find their way through the front door of a public library in New Zealand, physically or virtually, every year? The libraries of our childhood form a powerful idea in our minds about what libraries are. My childhood library was a Palmerston North Council building, and it was grey and minimalist, and inside it was filled with high shelves, serious adults, and books. Rows and rows and rows of books, dusty, yellowing, dog-eared. The Mills and Boon had all been defaced with the initials of the people that had read them. And it was silent, except for the occasional thump of a due date stamp. Many of us remember this library, we recognise it and we love it. But this library of nothing but books and silence, is a lie. It's a myth of a previous time, and that myth gets in the way of us realising an important truth, that our world needs libraries more than ever. And I use the word need deliberately. In an age of technology and information and growing inequality and social isolation, our world needs libraries. They're essential, like roads, like education, like hospitals. Why do we need them so much? Let's start with something that many of us probably take for granted, something that you might literally have in your hand right now. The internet. The internet has become more than just a nice to have. In the 21st century, without access to the internet, you are effectively silenced. You do not have a voice. You don't have freedom of speech, and you don't have freedom of access to information. 1 in 5 children in New Zealand don't have access to the internet in their home, and we don't care about that because they don't have Facebook or Snapchat or Clash of Clans. We care about that because without access to the internet and the development of some of those basic digital literacy skills, the ability of those kids to go on and participate in society decreases dramatically. In order to apply for even the most basic job today, you need to have an email address and an electronic CV. How do you do that if you don't have access to the internet or any digital literacy skills? How do you find out about government services or support mechanisms that might be available to you if you don't have a computer or a smartphone? Lots of organisations are moving services online, and we generally think that's a pretty good thing. But we can't ignore the fact that so many people don't have the access or the skills to get to those services. Last year, 8 million internet sessions were provided by public libraries in New Zealand, up 68% on the year before, and another 5.5 million Wi-Fi sessions. Public libraries in New Zealand provide access to the internet, and over 90% provide it for free. Up to June 2015, in the previous year, 500,000 people went to use education sessions in a library. The ability of everyone to participate in society is made possible by libraries. But libraries are not just about technology. Libraries are also physical and social spaces. Anyone can go to a library. You don't need to buy anything. There's no expectation. You don't need to leave. Many of us don't think about libraries this way, but for some people, a librarian might be the only person that they talk to today. A library might be the way that someone who's unemployed or a new New Zealander overcomes their sense of social isolation. A visit to the library might be the only trip that a new parent or a retired couple can afford. libraries are some of our few remaining public and social spaces. Our libraries are also a cultural refuge. We learn about our world and ourselves inside their walls. In the walls of the Alexander Turnbull Library, just a few kilometres away, there's a painting. And it's a painting of my great-great-great-great-grandfather. And the painting shows him and his brother clearing bush in Kandala in 1839. That painting provides me with a powerful link to my past and to my ancestors. And it makes me wonder. I wonder what they would make of the suburban jungle that sprung up. I wonder which house is on the clearing that they made. And I wonder what they would make of me. 180 years later, living just 3 kilometres down the road from where they were. It's this connection to our past that also makes libraries a target. In times of war, libraries are often the first places to be ransacked or burnt to the ground. That dislocation, that separation from our past, the erasure of history and evidence speaks to the power that a library has to hold our memory, to understand our present, and to look towards our future. In times of crisis, it's often the library that we turn to. Following the Christchurch earthquakes, as libraries reopened, they became places of familiarity and comfort. During the Wellington floods, it was the Central Library that opened its doors to anyone who needed a place to stay. Libraries can physically and spiritually shelter us. Why wouldn't we want to fight for that? Why wouldn't we want to fight for our right to remember and to know, to learn and to connect? It's very easy to take libraries for granted. The Port Nicholson Exchange and Public Library was the first library in New Zealand, built here in Wellington in 1841. But you don't need to look very far to see what can happen when the myth of libraries takes hold. Since 2010 in the United Kingdom, hundreds of libraries have been closed or had their budgets slashed following the global financial crisis. Just recently in Australia, the government announced $20 million worth of cuts to its national heritage institutions, including the National Library of Australia. And just a couple of years ago, I was interviewed on TV because a city councillor on the South Island thought that rather than have a public library service, perhaps we could just give everyone a Kindle. These kinds of stories are made possible by the persistent myth about what libraries are, those libraries we remember from our childhood, of nothing but books and silence. What will you do to give libraries a voice? What will you do to make sure that your public policy doesn't come from a Google search, that your diagnosis doesn't come from a Wikipedia page, that everyone has the right to participate in democracy? What will you do to smash that myth of libraries back into dust? Because libraries can and do change lives. A few years ago, I went into hospital for an operation, and while I was there, I met a man and we got talking, and he asked me what I did. I said, I'm a librarian. And he said to me, I have a real soft spot for librarians. And as a young boy, he had grown up in South Africa under apartheid. And because he wasn't white, his options and his access to education was limited. But every day, he would go into the library, and the librarians would let him in, and he would sit down at a table, and they would give him things to read, and he would read to his heart's content. Because those librarians cared more about his education and freedom of access to information than they did about rules on who was or wasn't allowed to be in the library. And that young boy became a doctor. And that doctor has been educating the next generation of doctors for more than 20 years. When people lose touch with libraries, you'll often hear them say, nobody uses libraries anymore. So when you hear that, you can tell them. You can tell your chief executive, your vice chancellor, your school board, your city councillor. Who uses libraries? The child studying for their science fair project. The woman next to you at the bus stop who's looking for a job. The scientist researching a compound that might one day lead to a cure for Alzheimer's. The retired friends who meet together to read the newspapers. The researcher who works on the floor above you who's developing new public policy. The new parent and their baby taking their first steps into the world of literacy. The person next to you watching a TEDx talk. The teenager registering to vote for the first time. The New Zealander keeping in touch with friends and family back home. Or perhaps the student studying to be a doctor who might one day save your life. Thank you.
Anyone want to say anything?
The Australian accent, that's all I can say.
No kidding. Could you hear most of it?
Bonnie, could you hear
Could I?
most of it?
Yeah, could you?
I could hear it all. It was difficult to understand her accent, even though I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah.
Australian accent, it was a little tricky.
New Zealand.
I'll send you a link if you want to watch
Okay,
it.
that would be good, because
Yeah.
I'd like to see the woman. I think it'd be easier to hear her
Yeah.
or understand her.
There should also be a closed caption option if you're watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, not over the speaker on my
Subtitles.
phone, I don't think, but
Okay. Any discussion about it?
I thought it was really good, I really liked it. It reinforced a lot of things that I believe about libraries.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I was telling, way back when I got on the board, I was telling the person who hired me into public accounting and became a good friend, and he goes, "What? Nobody goes to libraries anymore. Libraries are a thing of, just like she said."
Mhm.
And I set him straight. Now he's retired and loves libraries.
That's advocacy.
Right.
Okay. Things for next time. Anybody? Oh,
We're handling the budget in committee of the whole.
yes.
That's
Mhm, We
right.
have that down,
Mhm.
yeah. Nothing?
So that's going to be after our bingo on the books. Next.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So maybe we can get a report. It'll be in your director's report, never mind.
Okay, anyone want to speak in public forum?
I just wanted to let you know, if you don't already, that Matthew Cordell won the Caldecott Award.
Oh, thank you.
And he lives in our district. And he's been here before, and Diana Sills, our head of youth services, has contacted him, and we're in the process of setting up an event where he would come and read, and he might bring some other of his illustrators and friends from Chicago. So we're very excited about that. We're going back and forth with dates, and we'll let you know when that's gonna happen. But that's very.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That is super
Very
cool.
exciting.
Very cool.
Wow.
Anyone else? How about announcements? No announcements?
Bingo.
There you go.
The Friends meeting this week, they're electing new officers. Specifically, I think treasurer. I think it's going to be Mark running again, and then anyone can run. We'll see what happens, but they have a slate, so we'll.
Cool. Right, anyone want to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Anyone want a second?
I'll
second.
second.
Wait, before we adjourn. Since we're going to be talking about a board basket, will we be in violation of OMA if more than 2 of us are discussing that?
I guess officially, yeah, so maybe we should.
Okay, let's just decide now.
Talk about it
then,
now.
while we're- Yeah, okay,
I withdraw my motion.
Good catch,
Okay.
Andrea.
all right.
Do we want to form a basket forming committee?
No?
No,
Or maybe a couple people to discuss.
We don't
but
have
that would
time
not
for
be
that.
violating OMA.
I'm willing to do some shopping and with direction, but I think we should decide on a theme
On a
or way
theme,
to
yeah.
go and
Mhm.
maybe how much and totally voluntary, whether people wanna, how they want, each person wants to
I was
participate
gonna
if at all.
volunteer some wine.
Well, I was thinking of a culinary trip through Gurnee, whereas you have maybe either gift certificates or an actual thing from the new Nothing Bundt Cake, maybe a gift card to O'Toole's, something like that.
Chocolate Sanctuary,
Pardon me? What,
Chocolate
Bonnie?
Sanctuary.
Yeah, Chocolate Sanctuary,
Or
yeah.
honey baked ham.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Gurney
like
Donuts?
a culinary trip through Gurnee.
If I may ask,
Great
what is the
idea.
approximate target value for these baskets?
Good idea.
It varies. I was actually going to suggest that if you wanted to wait until committee of the whole, there's still enough time to put together a basket if we know when it's coming from the board, and then I can give you a rundown of what we already have.
Oh,
Because I
that's-
know that Laura Stone has that list, so because I know that there are some people talking about putting together a kind of type of basket like that, because those are popular baskets, the gift certificates to restaurants, that type of thing. It's very popular.
okay, so let's say this, that everyone will kind of ponder in case that doesn't
Okay.
work out, what would be our plan, plan B?
And we also have a list, and maybe it was in the handout, we can send it electronically, of things that have been popular in the past. Because one of the things that we're trying to do is have fewer baskets, but focus more on things that we know were popular in the past. Because there's certain, like you mentioned a bottle of wine, and
Yeah.
it turns out that people do like baskets with wine and bourbon and that type of thing in them, so.
Well, would it be easier to, I really like your idea, maybe
Yeah.
think about that for next year, but just everybody bring a bottle of something. And then I'll bring a basket.
You
That's a
could
lot of
do a
bottles.
basket called, the
The tipsy trustee.
no. I like it. I wasn't gonna say that. I was gonna say
Well, that's a lot of bottles.
Board of trustee favorites or something like that. So it wouldn't have to be even a bottle of scotch
Because
or
then
whatever.
we're
It could
done
be
at the next meeting.
yeah. You could bring your favorite book, copy of your favorite book, or something that you
That's an
like.
interesting idea.
Board favorites.
Board favorites. Yeah.
Oh, board favorites.
Wine and.
Could be wine, could be food, could be a gift card to your favorite
It could
restaurant,
be a
could be a book.
complement of wine and book together, like.
Could be anything, just board favorites.
Yeah, it could be your favorite anything. It could be your
That's a
favorite
really good idea.
whatever.
Shall we do
So,
that
Are we physically bringing it then?
to committee of the
Yes.
whole?
On the,
Yeah.
on the 6th?
And I'm sorry, do we need to do the whole basket and the wrap thing too, or
Laura
not?
will do that. Laura will do that.
Really?
She has the baskets, or we
Well,
bring the
if you
baskets?
have,
If you have a basket, extra basket lying around, we'd love to have it.
I-
But she puts it together and puts
Now,
it.
there are
Okay.
so many baskets on top of the refrigerators at work.
Why
We
don't you
keep
do-
ordering food, and they keep bringing it in
Maybe we could use those.
wicker
Repurpose them.
things.
Could you bring the basket and then the remaining trustees would bring a favorite?
Well, maybe I can bring the basket and a
And or.
Yes.
Okay,
Is that okay with you, Bob?
I think it's a plan.
A favorite what? I missed out. What's
A
favorite?
favorite, whatever it is
Your-
you like.
Your favorite,
Something.
fill in the blank.
Wine, restaurant.
Beverage, book,
Yeah,
food, whatever.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes to all of those.
yes.
Yes.
Our basket theme is board favorites.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Love it.
So, sounds
All
good.
right. Now can I have a motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
night,
Bonnie.
Bonnie.